Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another Three Rangers Foundation Transition Tuesday webinar. Today, I have a very good friend of mine, John Bartow from Wounded Warrior Project. He's a veteran service officer. Now, we know that doing a VA claim is a big part of the transition journey. It's kind of one of those big three that you've got to do right. So, John, let's start this off quick and in a hurry. What's the number one mistake that you found in your years of being a veteran service officer when transitioning service members or veterans are approaching that first VA claims process?
Hi, Tony. Hands down, it would be folks trying to get information from non-official sources, non-accredited sources, and trying to figure out the process on their own. So, what do I mean by that? Listening to barracks lawyers, going on Reddit, using social media, internet threads, basing their situation on that of someone very similar to them. Hey, I'm built just like this guy. We both got hurt on the same day doing the same thing. How come he's X and I'm Y? Right? So getting information, non-official sources, and trying to figure it out on their own. And then some of the more extreme cases are folks that try to actually read law and regulation and understand how to apply it to their specific instance. Always best served counting on the experts to help.
I love that, John. And you're a lawyer, right? You are licensed, you're credentialed to practice veterans law. You've been doing it for a while, but part of this transition journey for our folks, we want to ensure that they're building a team. You're one of those teammates. Would you let our audience know who John Bartow is and kind of your military experience and how you got to this point?
Sure. I retired from the Air Force in 2016. Prior to that, so I was in the Air Force from 1994 to 2016. And prior to that, from 89 to 94, I was in the Army. I had the privilege of serving in 175 in Hunter Army Airfield. Didn't last the longest, but was there long enough to learn the culture. And then the regiment invited me to go explore other opportunities. So I went to 4th ID Long Range Surveillance Attachment and 2nd ID Long Range Surveillance Attachment. So 5 years, little under 5 years in the Army, and then 22 in the Air Force, where I was a C-130 Loadmaster. That was really cool. Got to travel a lot. And then when I retired, I was extremely fortunate to be hired by the VFW as a veteran service officer. So that's where I got my training, my accreditation, and cut my teeth in the area of veteran service. Did that in New York City and upstate New York, Long Island, basically everything from Syracuse east down to the tip of Long Island. Worked with some wonderful, wonderful people. And then the opportunity arose for me to join Wounded Warrior Project. And I've been here since 2022 and thrilled to be a part of Wounded Warrior Project. I love it. And I very much love working with Three Rangers.
Well, tell me then, John, what was it about your experience that made you want to continue to serve? We have some folks that I see in transition, and they're so excited to get the DD-214. They think they can just put that uniform behind them, and it's in the background, and they're going to start something anew. But service has always been a part of your life. What made you want to work as a veteran service officer?
So at first I didn't know if it was going to be something I liked. I did know my only experience with a VSO in the past was at the TAP seminar. I saw the guy give the briefing. I was like, oh, he's got a pretty cool job. He gets to help his brothers and sisters in uniform. That's a cool job. When I had the opportunity to get that position, I specifically remember telling my wife, like, I'm not sure I'm going to like this. Right. I've never really had too much trouble communicating, whether it be in the written word or speaking with folks. And that's a big part of our job. So when I found out, hey, I'm a halfway decent communicator, and I can do that in service to others. And then once you get your first life-changing claim, or you change somebody's circumstances from not so great to like things are looking better, it's a rush. It's something you're like, man, I want to do this for as many people as I can. A lot of VSOs have their favorite claims. I have soft spots. Surviving family members is mine. Helping widows out, it's an honor like I've never had before in my life. And being a member of the military, if you've done any significant amount of time in the military, you can be the same. You're doing last name first name second, social security number, date of birth. So that kind of stuff's very easy. Most veterans have an easy time handling formology, and understanding how to communicate with other government agencies. So it kind of comes natural for a lot of veterans. And then just the vocation of helping others and the thrill now of helping folks in the regiment. It's an honor. I can't, it's great. It's unbelievable.
Well, we're blessed really to have a preferred partner in Wounded Warrior Project, and there's some method to the madness here for the folks who don't know. For everything that Wounded Warrior Project does provide in VA claims, which has been outstanding services, it's all the other programs that we get to expose Rangers to because of the VA claim that they're going to do, like the Warrior Care Network. We have the ability to get our transitioning service members might be found unfit for service in a window, get them through one of the preferred partners with the Warrior Care Network. And then there's the caregivers with Warriors to Work, and the up to 5 family members that a service member can outline. So overall, that's why this partnership is here. So for the folks tuning in, to dive into the VA claim, where do you start? When should you start? Where do you start?
Okay, yeah. I'll definitely answer. I want to piggyback on something you said that kind of makes Wounded Warrior Project unique, and something I really, really love. When I get to know our warriors or rangers or whoever I'm dealing with, I get pretty intimate with their story, because we're dealing with physical and mental challenges that they've experienced during their military career. And in the course of hearing their story, there's a part of my brain that's running and saying, this program would be good for them, or that program would be good for them. And it's awesome that our organization has set up for us teammates. It's very easy to connect them with those resources. So that is unique to our organization, and it's really, really great to do. It's awesome to be able to have that resource network at your disposal, and it ultimately benefits the service member or the veteran, right? So to answer your question, when is a good time to get started? 8 months is a good reference point, right? Because a BDD, a benefits delivery at discharge claim, is where VA aims to have your benefits able to be delivered to you at your discharge. In reality, that means you get your first VA compensation check 2 months from the date you become a civilian in most cases, right? Because VA pays at the end of the month, and they always skip that first month by law. That's the way the law is written. But if we have somebody at 8 months, we can get their BDD claim ready, right? Because we have from 180 days to 90 days out, we can get their claim prepared and be able to deal with any contingencies, or if folks are still seeking treatment, we're able to like get a nice claim built by no later than 90 days out. Usually we're filing, anywhere between 120 and 180 days out with a good solid claim. As far as preparing to do their transition claim, that preparation kind of starts a little bit ahead of time for smart service members, especially retirees, right? Because they've had a long history. It's time to go get cleaned up. It's time to go tell the doctor about that knee that's been bothering you for a couple years. It's time to maybe go to behavioral health. It's time to get things of record, that way that it will count as evidence for a successful VA claim. That process can start 2 years out, and we understand, and you understand, we all understand that you have to balance operational needs versus personal wants, right? Every Ranger puts service before self. They want to get on that last deployment. They want to maybe go to that last service school, right? There does have to come a time, though, where you have to be able to look at your situation and say, it's time to take care of myself. It's time to make sure that I'm fit for this next phase of life. So that is entirely dependent on the individual.
And I look at that. That's just a task, condition, and standard. You come into the military at some health record that you get a physical. I mean, you're in a certain shape. Your body's in a certain condition. Your job is just really, this process is to document how you're different.
Correct.
And so we really focus on the idea that the earned benefit is the healthcare. Yes, there's compensation, right? We rarely will we talk about that unless it's a retiring service member, because we want the focus to be on that earned benefit for healthcare, because we don't know about things like mild TBI and what's going to happen over time. We think we have an idea, but we best take care of our service member by taking care of that healthcare. And so we talk through what those benefits are for healthcare by, going through the process and completing your disability claim.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. Like, very crucial to make is, VA healthcare has gotten bad press in the past. I can tell you through my own lived experience and others, I have found exceptional healthcare through VA. They have a different way of doing things, where I always give the example of a checkup, right? When I go to my civilian doctor, and I use my TRICARE because I'm a retiree, go to my civilian doctor, they're kind of, they're in a rush, take my blood pressure, weight, height, check my eyes, and ask me what's wrong with me. Then they base their next move based upon what I tell them. I'm going to give you labs. I'm going to refer you to this person, right? The VA, if your annual physical's on a Friday, they bring you in for a very comprehensive lab set on Wednesday. So when you're sitting in front of that doctor, you have a very impressive set of labs that are giving them information that they need ahead of time. So, and I'll confess right now that the VA found my kidney cancer that saved my life. And it's a great benefit. Experience with individual providers, individual smaller healthcare systems within the VA can vary, but it also varies in the civilian. Blue Cross Blue Shield, and you could still come across a bad doctor who you have a hard time getting an appointment with. So I don't think it's unique to the VA. I think it's all healthcare systems. So the healthcare benefit that veterans are entitled to is by way of their DD-214. So even a veteran, especially a combat veteran who only has a DD-214, you are still entitled to healthcare. What your disability percentage determines is what priority group you are put in the healthcare spectrum, right? So if you're 0%, you're in priority group, I believe it's 8. That's a lower priority group, right? It quickly starts going up with any rating whatsoever. A 10% rating for tinnitus, and now we're in priority group 3. Your co-pays, your medications, very, very, very minimal cost at that point, right? And then if you get a 50% or higher VA disability rating, you're now in priority group 1, which is free comprehensive healthcare for the rest of your life. So it is you're right. It's an understated benefit that I think it empowers veterans a lot more than they realize.
And with that, I'm sorry, with that compensation, we think of, oh, we're taking advantage of the system, but part of that lower pay is because for some of these lifetime benefits. And I think sometimes we don't explain that well enough. Yes, maybe you're undercompensated compared to your civilian peers, and all the professional pay and hardship pay may feel like it's not worth it. Unfortunately, it's just one of those things you don't know until you experience it. And much like you, John, so I just had my annual physical with the VA. Yep. Very satisfied with the healthcare that I've received. I know it's not everybody's experience, but once again, who's satisfied across the board with all of their civilian, private, or public healthcare anyway? So earned benefit, right, from that rating. So 8-month mark is when Wounded Warrior Project, if somebody registers, the VSOs will get assigned and they'll start working your case. The service member is going to add to those medical records. They're going to get that first claim, that first percentage. One of the reasons that we stress use of Wounded Warrior Project, although most of our folks are away from the flagpole and have to do it virtual, is really about the second claim, though. Will you talk through, for those who have injuries or different things come up in the first year, what that presumptive period looks like?
Sure. So many times, especially with SOF, we're talking to Rangers for the most part here, there's a high degree of underdocumentation of injury, right? It's a problem that we're actually kind of looking at, we're trying to solve and see if there's a balance there where your go-getters and stuff can still get treated fairly by the VA. And we've come up with some pretty innovative approaches there, working with RMed and some of those folks, right? What ends up happening a lot of times when you're coming off of active duty, the reason you'll get denied, the VA can deny you for a number of reasons, right? But they're always the same. They always give the same answer. It's either not service connected, a pre-existing condition that was not aggravated by service, or no diagnosis. So with Rangers, we see no diagnosis all the time. The VA will say in their decision letter, we see evidence of a qualifying event or injury on active duty. You just knocked out the first requirement for a successful claim. They see the evidence, right? You were a paratrooper. Your knees are probably jacked. So we have the first thing. VA did not say it is not service connected, but then they say you have no diagnosis. So when Rangers or veterans are denied for no diagnosis, it can be as simple as a fix of go enroll in VA healthcare or go to a civilian provider, be seen for that condition, have them document that, have them treat you for that, and file a supplemental claim within 1 year of discharge. And that, if it is approved, that will be retroactive to your date of discharge. The law also recognizes a very long list of conditions that can develop within a year of discharge that can be presumptively service connected. A lot of these are chronic disabilities, and a lot of them are common sense chronic disabilities. So, if you're discharged from the military at the end of next month and, 3 months later, you come down with a chronic autoimmune disorder, you're very likely to be service connected for that because it didn't just happen in the last couple months. Now, once you pass that 365th day, now we're in a whole new realm. Now in order to get service connected from examiner. So they have to provide a good rationale of why it's related to your service once we're at day 366. We now have that additional requirement that we need.
And that's why, John, the relationship with Wounded Warriors, if you do a claim on post, and that's fine. We know that the majority of our folks within the Ranger community, maybe not all special operations, but specifically the Ranger community, are not going to serve towards until retirement. right? So everyone is going to have to consider, and most likely will qualify, health gets worse over time, a second claim. And what a better group, right, better person to do your second claim is the same person who did your first claim. Now, to, quality of work, right? Some people believe they can pay for it. Other people will say you never have to pay for anything. To clear the air, will you talk about like who can do a claim in this veterans law thing that VSOs have, and maybe even go down the rabbit hole of why a VSO wouldn't put a claim in that was not accurate?
Sure. So you always want to use an accredited representative. And you want, there are three types of people that can service a veteran's claim. And that is a veteran service organization. Well, first of all, there's four. You can do it on your own, right? And we know the old adage, only if the one who represents themselves has a fool for a client, right? The other options are veteran service organization, and people are familiar with many of them. Great organizations, VFW, American Legion, DAV, Wounded Warrior Project, right? Those are some examples of accredited organizations who have accredited VSOs, veteran service officers, within those organizations, okay? Then there is attorneys and claims agents. Both of them are fully accredited by VA in the same manner as a VSO. They can be excellent options as long as the service member or veteran understands that they are not allowed to charge for an initial claim. They are only allowed to charge money for appeals. Okay. To give you an example, at Wounded Warrior Project, we have a team. You don't get hired with us unless you have prior experience. And we also have attorneys on staff and appeal specialists are with us. So there really is no need to spend the money. You're dealing with experienced folks. But if the veteran prefers a service that requires a fee, we always encourage them to make sure that who they're dealing with, number one, is accredited. Number two is not charging them for an initial.
It makes total sense. The idea, it goes back to the barracks lawyers. If it works for one person, and this is what we see in the community, if one person believes that their ideal claim number was achieved because they pay for it, right? That's a satisfied client. They're likely to tell others.
Correct.
However, what those people can find are the same things that a VS, because you'll lose your credentialing if you submit faulty claims either way. So for those thinking of paying, just really consider what you're doing, and just like everything else, get a second opinion on what you're doing. Following the approach because one person did it probably isn't the best reason, whether it be a referral to a nonprofit organization or a for-profit organization. So final question as we kind of wrap up here, John, with Wounded Warrior and benefits, could you kind of talk through like these benefits that you receive from from service, from disability? There's federal and there's state. How do y'all stay connected with folks to be able to explain these things to them? Because once again, you can just leave it up to a Google search. The Google box is rather amazing. But does Wounded Warrior provide that additional assistance once you get this claim to be able to explain what it means?
Absolutely, yeah. So it's lifetime advocacy, right? So that's a great question for a couple different reasons, right? when we get a benefit for a veteran or one of our warriors, one of the most important parts of our job is to educate them on, okay, what can you do with this benefit, right? What's available to you? Let's get on the phone together, do a post briefing, talk about where you're going to be living. What are your state benefits? What types of things are you entitled to for not only you, but your family, right? And so another reason why that's a great question is because your disability picture is going to change. Even if you are 100% permanent and total and all your stuff got covered and we're all super stoked and happy that we had a good outcome, down the road, maybe you have a kid and maybe that kid wants to go to college and you want to learn about, hey, what benefits are available to my child for education or my spouse, right? Or you come down with exposures you had in service and you want to claim it. Well, if you're smart, you ask a veteran service officer, should I claim this? Is this a good time? Does it put me at any risk? And so we're constantly available. I always stress at the end of a case, I always say, this does not end my service to you. You know, I'm always available to you. Please let me know when you have major life circumstances. And last point there is the VA offering with 100% customer service satisfaction, and that's the National Cemetery Association. So they are actually an incredible benefit for surviving members of the family. So the last thing I always tell somebody in my closing email is please take the contact information for Wounded Warrior and give it to a loved one. God forbid something was to happen to you. That way we can take care of your loved ones going forward. So we really stick with folks for the duration of their life. We provide lifelong advocacy.
So I appreciate that. And, you know, this all stems from an idea within the Ranger Regiment of this Ranger for Life. And what we've seen through our vetted partners with, you know, Wounded Warrior being on the top of the mountain is now instead of a Tony Main, a Mike Hall, Ned Longoria, Will Walker telling transitioning service members, we see the goodness of the crosstalk across the community. And someone's connected to Wounded Warrior for a VA claim or maybe a subsequent claim because somebody else had a good experience, right? We've got that national clearinghouse thanks to what y'all do. So I want to thank you for your time today. Thank you for your service, your continued service to all veterans, but of course, specifically Rangers, as they're near and dear to our heart. And we look forward to seeing you again, because you'll be around at the next Ranger for Life Symposium or up here at the Ranger Outreach Center, I'm sure soon. So thank you so much for your time, John.
All right. You're more than welcome, Tony. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you, John. That concludes today's Transition Tuesday webinar with John Bartow, Veteran Service Officer with Wounded Warrior Project. Stay tuned for the release of next month's episode. We look forward to continuing to serve the Ranger community.